Congressman, there are a few that are gathered here today, probably as excited as you are about the potential of 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. But summarise what it means to you and your constituents if we are to go off this evening.
Well, it's a part of our DNA. We are literally the Space Coast. This is where, of course, we launched to the moon the first time in 1969. And to see this happening again is so exciting for our community. It's great for our economy, but it's great for America coming together to wish these astronauts the best as they go around the moon for the first time since 1972. And as you've driven around this community, you've seen this, not just NASA, but commercial spaces emerging here as well.
That's what I allude to, Congressman. You know, in your constituents, you have engineers, scientists that have been directly involved in this program. Is there any assessment you've done on the economic impact that something like the Artemis program has on the local economy here?
Oh, it's a tremendous boom. As we like to say, it's literally taking off. And all the jobs that come, not just from the big companies, but the small suppliers as well. So many of us were concerned about what would happen to the space industry after Barack Obama got rid of the shuttle program. We were afraid what would happen what happened after Apollo. But the exact opposite has happened. We've created public-private partnerships, like SpaceX are the ones who launch the satellites for communications or for military needs right here on the Space Coast, and has allowed our economy to boom. And so many people have found jobs here at NASA and at the private sector that has really changed the dynamic of our economy.
We probably don't have time for the full history lesson of the origins of the Artemis program, but essentially out of George W. Bush's administration, 2005, the Constellation program. Obama was not as focused on the moon. President Trump in his first administration was, and it was carried through to Biden, and now here we are. And as we sit here today, Congressman, there are many Americans who say we have problems enough as it is here in America, financial or otherwise. Why should we be excited about America returning to the moon?
Well, beyond, of course, the idea of exploring the world, or in this case, literally the space area, but this is about economics as well. It is so important that we have the technological power necessary to take on all challengers. And on the moon, you have things like helium-3 that can be, of course, a fuel for nuclear power here on Earth. You also have water on the moon, the South Pole. That's the area we really want to control, because when you have water, you have hydrogen, which is, of course, the propellant that lifts these rockets. And eventually, we believe we'll have a moon base on the moon that will allow us to launch to Mars like we had all been talking about, especially Elon Musk. So this is a win-win. This grows our economy. This is private sector and public sector jobs, and it just shows anything's possible in America.
Our audience on Bloomberg Television and those listening on Bloomberg Radio can detect there is a bit of wind and there are some clouds in the sky. You seem incredibly upbeat about the prospects of 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time.
Well, we always say in Florida, if you don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes. So we might be in the spot where, as of now, it looks like at least an 80% go. Hopefully these clouds will dissipate. We'll have the launch starting at 6:24. But we have about a two-hour window. I'd actually love to see about a 7:30, 8 o'clock launch, have a nice scenic
to light up
view.
the sky.
It is. And if you see a launch at night, as you have, it's like having 12 noon in the middle of the night, because the power of this rocket, 8 million tons, and that's the equivalent of 130,000 NASCAR engines are on that rocket right now.
It would make it the most powerful human-rated launch system, because, of course, Starship, yet to carry humans on paper, is more powerful. A minute ago, we were talking about why the moon matters. You did not use the word China, but they have ambitions to get to the moon in 2030. How conscious are you and your subcommittee colleagues of that?
Well, we're very competitive, as you know. We beat the Soviets, the communists, the first time. We expect to beat them as well. We're going to get there, I believe, in 2028. And remember, the Chinese do not share our values, whether it be for life or, that matter, the environment. What happens if they get there first? They might contaminate that water supply that would be vital to really cultivating the moon's opportunities. So the Chinese do not share also respect for law. There's a treaty in place since the 1960s. It says this is all the world's property. We're afraid that if they get there first, they might try to monopolize that. That's not good for the world.
Congressman, what is your assessment of the early tenure of Jared Isaacman as administrator of NASA? It would appear that he's accelerated the Artemis program and indeed the ambitions of how soon Americans get to the moon.
Well, I give an A+. I mean, this guy has brought high energy, high intelligence, a clear vision of what NASA's future will be. Remember, this guy is a self-made billionaire. He's a guy who's been in space, who walked in space, is a pilot himself. I call him the American James Bond. And he really communicates well. He's really elevated the image of NASA and the direction you see that they're dominating the news today. People see that this is the future. America is going to lead the way. And Jared has done a fantastic job early in his tenure.
You know, Bloomberg Balance of Power co-host Katie Lyons made a really important point to me, which is, he outlined a plan just last week for $30 billion to establish a base on the moon. And to those in industry, $30 billion would seem like a lot. But when you consider what the Pentagon might get in defense, for example, where do you and your colleagues on the subcommittee sit on that, about the level of funding that NASA should be granted to achieve the goals as they are set out in the Artemis program?
Well, this is step one. This is just the beginning. We believe that if Artemis 2 is a success like we anticipate, that we think the investment is worth it. Again, there's a lot of waste and fraud we've unfortunately found out in places like Illinois, in places like Minnesota, California. So we have the money when we spend the money smarter, but we also want to improve the technology, and the money is there, but we have to prove it every single day.
Is it being used the right way, Congressman? I mean, the Artemis program, the disclosure is it's been a $93 billion program, or roughly about $4 billion a launch. You know full well that the private players in your district, SpaceX and Boeing, can move pretty quickly. Has this been money well spent?
I think it has, because the technology we've been able to accrue from these emissions. And look, we're constantly asking these companies, can we do better? And you've seen that with SpaceX, Blue Origin. They're creating amazing rocket systems. And the idea is that we think that it will happen in the future, but we have to rely right now on the SLS rocket. It's the only one that can propel us into space. And whether it be Blue or SpaceX or some other company, we think that's the future. Can't wait to see Starship launching here in the fall. That's the future. But for now, SLS is our ticket to ride, and we're going to ride it all the way.